Okay, so I'll just wait a couple minutes for people to like actually show up. This obviously isn't the Localist Party thing. This is just an incredibly amusing video that I never get really tired of listening to. Um, from about August last year when Lucas was trying to school people and tried to correct somebody's spelling. So, yeah, the Localist Party logo is like, and I'm not even gonna make fun of it too, but that is like pure classic GeoCities website design from the mid 2000s. Oh yeah, I gave you a big old frozen treat. You're just gonna lay on the couch, huh? Okay. He just came back in from a very long potty break, so we should be good for a while. And he looks tired, so that's good. Yeah, sunglasses on the head, trying to look. I need to stop trying to like read Twitter on my phone while I'm trying to do this. But I got a notification that I wanted to look at. So, of course, it's on my phone, so it's tiny. Yeah, Lucas isn't smart enough to do anything, basically. I mean, not a shocker. Lucas can't figure anything out. You have no idea how much I wish I could tell like people all the shit I know about his job hunt thing, but I can't because I'm pretty sure he hasn't said the same or similar enough things to other people, and he would like know exactly who I was. Um, but he did actually get a job offer. Anyway, I'm gonna start this by playing just this little 10-second video of Lucas trying to like sound smart and correct. I think I can't remember if he was in a live or if he was bitching about a comment in this one, but he was trying to correct somebody's grammar and spelling, and it went about as well as anything for Lucas ever does. I should unmute my desktop sound before I do that. All right, 10 seconds of Lucas being a genius.
Yeah, okay, you can't even spell your. It's Y-O-E apostrophe R-E. You idiots that don't even know how to spell the word your correctly.
Yeah. So there's the evening dose of Lucas being a verbal genius. PhD candidate right there. Oh, so Lucas is never aware when people are trolling him. He assumes anyone who's being even surface polite to him is like his best friend. So if you're ever nice to Lucas, and are careful not to like trip his "don't ever criticize me" bullshit, he will think that you're his best friend. Like he was convinced that those people were his best friends. He's pissed about it now because he did not know that they were going to let me on it. It was a last minute thing that I even decided to go on. It wasn't like an invite thing, although I did mention in their Discord, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of jumping on the live. Is that cool? And got a whole bunch of yes, do it. Basically, when people want to keep Lucas coming back to their streams or their podcasts, they will not so much cater to him, but they'll make him think they're catering to him because he thinks they're on his side and that they'll protect him from the haters. And it always falls apart because people get Lucas is boring for the most part, and the main goal of pretty much anyone who has Lucas on is the end goal of it, whether it's in one episode or whether it's 5, 6, 7 plus down the line, is to have Lucas freak the fuck out. But yeah, I mean it's you can get around Lucas's triggers for shit like that. Well, part of it is that Lucas is local to them, so he's an easy thing to target. But he's definitely not happy. he's okay. He would have been fine, I think, with them letting me on there. But what he assumed was going to happen, because he viewed these people as his close buddies, was that they would turn on me and tell me to like shut up, that I was making shit up, that I was being rude. Just the kind of bullshit that I was lying. He was expecting that they were going to gang up on me. And obviously that didn't happen. So he was pissed. And the main reason he didn't just drop when he found out I was coming on there was first of all, he was sure that they were going to like round on me and not like let me talk to him. And then that he kind of vaguely realized that if he just rage quit, that he would have undone the past 2 hours of him trying to portray himself as a sweet, gentle, reformed, intelligent, kind man. And if he had just rage quit right then or lost his whole fucking mind, that would have undone the last 2 hours of the podcast. So that's pretty much why he didn't freak out on there. But it would be interesting if they could get him to come back on. But yeah, the show was his. It was exactly that. It was a redemption arc in Lucas's mind. And I don't know how he didn't figure that. You could tell from the second that even Miss Parker started on him that it wasn't a redemption. For him, it was a redemption arc, but for everyone else, it was like, let's confront the pedophile. Anyway, no, I just started with this thing of Lucas trying to correct somebody's spelling and then just like completely fucking it up. And then we briefly talked about how mad Lucas was about the last podcast he was on, because that was like the last surprise guest. So the Localist Party. So this was something that people on Kiwi Farms had found, and I got the Wayback link to it. This is just up on Virtual Wern. I've not actually fully read through it. That's what, Control A, Control C, Control V is for in a WYSIWYG editor. I've skimmed it to know that it's stupid, but it's long, and I've basically only skimmed it. I think this was from about the time, too, when he was calling himself the Wizard. According to Cyril, Lucas did call himself the Wizard for a while, if you were not aware of that. I'm doing all right. Dog is tired. Should be good. Cat's not screaming. That's always good. I love this. I love this logo for this part. I love this. It's so perfectly Geocities clip art. Like, you can see the clip art obviously pasted in there, like a clip art flag, clip art houses. I don't know why there's a fighter jet flying under a rain cloud and a tree is thinking across the highway from a cactus, and people are talking, and there's a satellite and a tent. I don't know what he was going for with this clip art, and he was still in Olympia at the time for this. This was long before he came to Spokane. This was actually like long before he had his first girlfriend and all that fun stuff. This is the only remnant that was left. There were no other real like images or anything, and this was spanned through about 2 different sections of a Geocities page. And it's stupid. This is the political party Lucas tried to form around like 2004, 2005. Yeah, that logo is just nasty. It's a bad P, too. It looks like it says Darty. So let's start with reading about the Localist Party. And this is basic. I would tell you I'm just going to read through this, but I know I'm not. I'm going to stop every time it gets stupid and probably bitch about how stupid it is. But y'all are used to that if you've been here for more than one stream. Lucas uses big words to make himself feel smart. We all know that. Just let him think he's a big boy. Yeah, this was really old. Like this was like legit a Geocities page. It's that old. So the Localist Party is a libertarian socialist think tank dedicated to the ideals of cooperation, tribalism, diplomacy, equality, sustainability, responsibility, transcendentalism, and of course, libertarian socialism. We hope to I don't know who we is. I'm pretty sure he was the only party member, but anyway, they had a mailing list. We hope to combine these ideals into a viable political party by researching our 8 tenets and forming into a solid format. It is believed by the Localist Party, which is just Lucas, that this Octolex, or 8 rules, are essential to educating the people of libertarian socialism on a mass scale with supreme simplicity without leaving behind the nuts and bolts of each ideal. Why does he capitalize Octolex? It's not an acronym. We operate out of the Olympia, Washington area as a completely online community, through the internet. We hope to help people grow as libertarian socialists through education and strengthen our following with intelligence to erase ignorance of what libertarian socialism really is. Our number 1 policy is to bridge the gap between the great thinkers of our movement, Lucas, that would be Lucas, and the general public, so the real people can make informed decisions and not be afraid that they are the only ones out there who think about these great things. This is just the intro, by the way. Yeah, it's amazing he spelled a word correctly. It's amazing he spells any words correctly, honestly. Each week, we will bring you information from around the realm of our folk in the form of blogs, forums, and newsletters, and we'll work to highlight the certain areas of interest from around the progressive world. We will bring you off-the-wall stories and opinions from our world and viewers through these formats on a very regular basis with the help of our regular contributors and classical works. We cannot pay for contributions, but we can offer special privileges, misspelled. If you have anything to submit in the areas of our Octolex, please email me personally. Doesn't look like it's spelled right, but that might just be me at an address that no longer exists. Thank you for your interest and support. Lucas C. Warner, founder, the Localist Party. That's your intro. So here's the... Dang it, lights, I turned you down and I forgot to turn the timer off. It turns you back up. Whatever. All right, so here we get into the 8 rules, the Octolex, which he seems to always want to put in all caps. It's word salad. It's Lucas. I mean, that made more sense than some of his more recent ramblings, but it's still complete word salad. I don't know how anyone... I go on autopilot when I read these, and I just read the words as he put them out. If I try to stop and think about them, I get lost because it's word salad. I mean, nonsense should confuse you, yeah. So let's take a look at the Localist Party's Octolex. Number 1, cooperation, not competition. If there is to be any change in the corporate takeover of the political system and control of America and the world by big business, it will lie in what is known as a cooperative commonwealth. Basically, small cooperatives organize on a grand scale to eventually form a commonwealth. Damn it. I stopped to think again. We believe that big business and government should run like cooperatives until they are wiped away by inevitable revolution. Everyone should have equal chances to direct democracy, not just the rich. We believe in a grand co-opting of America and strategic decorporatization that has become pretty much been... What? Strategic decorporatization that has become pretty much been accepted as the norm. Okay, that was word salad. If there is any hope in our success in a nation, it will be due to small businesses working together to fight the big monopolies on an equal playing ground. So it should be noted that if you were too young or weren't into politics at this time, and I was heavily into like local, state, and national politics. I worked on big campaigns for many years. This is about the time that the libertarian movement started to become like a real thing. And of course, Lucas got swept up in it because it sounded good, and it did sound good if you just listened to the surface of it. It was basically just leave everyone the hell alone. But then you can actually look at some instances in like small towns where they've put like libertarian principles into play in their local government, and it's a complete shit show. It's probably not funny for the people that live there, but it's an absolute hilarious shit show to read articles about places that have tried actual libertarianism on a small scale and to see how badly it fails. Because basically it only takes one asshole to like fuck it up. Because they come back and say, well, the government can't tell me what to do. If I want to feed the bears and make them completely unafraid of everybody and make everything dangerous, it's my right to feed the bears, so fuck off. It doesn't. It's one of those things that's a nice concept, but people are assholes, so it'll never work. Sort of like I got a cousin that's lived on a commune for decades, the same one. And for the most part, it works because everybody there is basically on the same wavelength as to how they want things to run. But every now and then they get an asshole and they kick them out. Speaking of, tribes, not hierarchy, as if tribes do not have... Most tribes do have some sort of hierarchy, but let's put that aside. So number 2 of the Octolex is tribes, not hierarchy. In our minds, our society as a whole should organize as a tribally and with good reason. The system we come from is a system rooted in clans based upon creed. Clans grew into fight. No, they didn't. And feudalism spawned awful, spelled incorrectly, atrocities, monarchies, globalization. Why did he use the British spelling? Trade deficits and imperialism. He spelled imperialism wrong. Tribes, too, were precursors to empires such as the Mayan and Amazon aristocracies. I hate this. However, when the people realized that imperialism was wrong, when the fuck did anyone ever realize imperialism was wrong and walk away from it? Usually when somebody realizes that imperialism is wrong, it's because they just got their ass kicked in a massive war. Anyway, let's go with Lucas's thing. They realized imperialism was wrong, and they walked away and recongregated into their previous tribes, which have always been superior. We need to return to this ideal as means of starting out fresh with a system that really worked. We at the Lopa? What the fuck's the Lopa? He didn't explain that. Now he's making up words he's not even explaining. Okay. We at the LOPA truly believe it takes a village and will work hard with new tribal ideals to regain socially. Is he trying to say socially? I think he's trying to say socially, but it's not spelled right. Socially. I think he meant socially. Conscious strata that will be accepting to all. Jesus Christ, that was painful. That's only the second rule, by the way. There's 8 of these fucking things. It would be kind of funny to try to sell Lucas on an NFT, but he wouldn't understand what it was. If he didn't have to put money into putting NFTs up for sale, I'd just make a bunch of NFTs of Lucas making weird faces and sell the damn things. Apparently, LOPA is the Localist Party. Fuck it, why not? People across the street are having some huge-ass block party, and occasionally I can hear somebody yelling outside. But it was good practice for the dog to not bark his head off. Anyway, where were we? Number 3. We're only at number 3, right? There's 8 of these, and then there's even more to this after the 8. All right. So up to number 3, diplomacy, not militarism. America has become a police state. I'm not going to entirely disagree with that. Elsewhere in the world, countries lean more towards tending to their own affairs and handling international debacles with diplomatic procedure rather than going to war every 20 years. What? Because, I very distinctly remember, and I'll talk actual wars here and not just, minor skirmishes caused by the CIA, but I pretty well, very clear, because I remember I stayed up to watch it because I couldn't believe they were going to live stream a fucking war. I stayed up to watch the first invasion of Iraq being live streamed over the news networks because I didn't think that was going to be a thing they were going to show because who the hell live streams a war? Apparently CNN does. I stayed up till time differences and it was a school night. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm watching this. I watched a live stream war. That was definitely within 20 years of 2003, 2004. I've seen multiples of it. It streamed on the news. It was 9, 10 at night where I was when it started happening and got to watch shit blow up, which was interesting because I was not very old at that time. That was 91? I think that was 91, wasn't it? So anyway, yeah, it had to have been 91. I would have been 10 or 11. I think it was probably still 10. Yeah, it did. They broadcast the whole damn thing. You could watch it. Yeah, you could. So anyway, that was definitely within the 20 years between 2004, 2005, whenever he put this stupid site out, and when that happened. And that was just the first round. That was an actual Desert Storm where they got news crews in there streaming that shit back. I mean, yeah, it's just... yeah, that was the first time that it was actually really broadcast live, and that's kind of why I wanted to watch it. Other stuff, you had journalists in wars going back, a long time, but it was always an after the fact sort of thing that you got the reports, and that one was fucking live. I mean, it was go time, and they're like, here you go, and it was night there, so everything was blowing up on it, so you couldn't see a ton. But that was something else. Yeah, it was. And Lucas is every 20 years. Lucas, do you not realize? And he's so fucking U.S.-centric in his view here, too, because just because it hasn't been peaceful in the U.S. for a goddamn long time, we've been in constant war since about the 90s, none of which we win. You'd think we'd give up after a while. It's expensive. But Lucas seems to have this really weird view of the world that if it's not directly affecting him, it's not happening. There have been wars not involving the U.S. all over the damn place for quite some time. People are just difficult to live with. It's just people are just difficult to live with. And if we want to put it in the thing of, we're big social apes, big social apes tend to fight a lot, and that's not just humans. They're not very social with all other apes. They're just awful little animals. Anyway, wait, where was I? Lucas being wrong. The Lopo wishes to learn from our mistakes by pulling out of other nations, wrong apostrophe use, homelands and stripes. Okay, I'm reading that right. and strifes and start handling our problems around the meeting table rather than the front line. So this is the classic, this has nothing to do with social, this is a classic libertarian line. One of the, at least libertarianism at this time period that he was writing this, was real big on isolationism. And basically, don't start fucking with other countries' problems till we fix our own. So they basically wanted to pull back. They wanted to go back to Wilson's isolation thing, which didn't work out so great anyway. But anyway, that's what he's talking. He's talking about isolationism. We need to begin nuclear disarmament immediately. That's slowly been going on for some time. It's never going to go entirely away. And become an exemplary example to the rest of the world who is either embarrassed by us with justification, I mean, that's fair, or hate us for not seeing the good veiled under so much bad. Again, that's not, usually if somebody's going to hate the U.S., just a nebulous somebody, it's probably because we bombed them, or invaded them, or put trade embargoes on them to the point that they started to starve. It's really hard to tell somebody to see the good underneath it when you're bombing the shit out of them. It's just, exemplary example. So again, he just has a very rudimentary understanding of how international politics works, which for a libertarian is pretty common. I mean, okay. We need to lift the embargo on other economic societies different than our own. He's specifically talking about Cuba here. Because I'm sure he doesn't realize those embargoes exist on other countries as well. Iran is another notable one. From our own to lessen the animosity in the rest of the world. Lifting the embargoes is a very good minor start, but that's not the biggest problem people tend to have with how the United States operates. But, I mean, at least he hit one of the minor points. Oh, Lord. What are we on, 4? We're on 4. Sustainability, not waste. He says it's supposed to be biodiesel. My brain is auto-correcting this. I work with end users who tend to be over 60, so I can pretty much auto-translate complete fucking nonsense into English. But I'm trying to read this the way that he wrote it, not the way he probably meant it. So what we have here is biodiesel. And other forms of sustainable. So biodiesel is more sustainable than fossil fuels, but it's not the best because of the amount of land and crops you have to do with it. You're going to deplete those. It's just, God damn it. I don't know why I'm trying to pick apart his stupid political ideals. Of course they're stupid. It's Lucas. Biodiesel and other forms of sustainable injury. That's where my head's going. Energy will be looked into with great zeal and importance. Great zeal, wow, and importance. We must end our dependence on petroleum-based products soon, or we will surely suffer. I mean, technically not wrong. That is a finite resource. Hemp should be reinstituted as a viable resource. I can't disagree with him there. Hemp is a very useful resource for a lot of things, and it's illegal for a lot of stupid reasons that have to do with the fossil fuel industry and stupid people. As well as recycled material and solar and wind energy. That's probably the most sane thing he's typed up here so far. We are way behind the rest of the world, especially Western Europe, in terms of alternative energy development and need to catch up with the rest of the civilized world if we are to succeed as a nation over the next century. I mean, honestly, the way it's looking, we're probably not going to be around in the next century. But hey, I'll be dead. I don't care. It's a lofty goal, but the locality party... That was the Localist Party. The fuck's the Locality Party? All right. It's a lofty goal, but the Locality Party only needs the manpower to kick off its goals of sustainability. That's not the right form of its, and you do need quite a bit more than that. Oh, that's not the music from the party across the street I'm hearing. I have the bedroom speaker still playing because the cats are in there. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. There actually are voices in the wind. They're just in the bedroom coming out of a speaker. I need to defragment the RAM that I have. Biodiesel. I know it's such a... Diesel. Biodiesel. What the fuck? All right. So he changed the name of his party. Now it's the Locality Party. And then we go back to the Localist Party further down, but he fucked up the name of his own party. Cool. I'd have to stop and think about who that is, and I'm pretty sure I know who that is. I think EDP 445 actually did go after underage kids, Lucas at least hasn't been busted doing that other than over text. He never actually showed up somewhere in a teacup. God, I wish he would. That would be funny. Oh boy, we're up to number 5. Equality, not disparity. Feminism is a key proponent to the success of a nation. Women and men need to work on equal playing ground and need equal representation in all affairs of council. What the fuck is this spelling of misogyny? Why did I know that was misogyny? I'm going to try to pronounce it the way he typed it. This is not going to end well. Okay, I was right. Yeah, EDP did actually go through, was trying to meet somebody. I think Ash is still horny, but she's been calmer today, and she was out for a little bit and wasn't screaming. So she might be coming out of heat, and I think she's actually asleep right now. But she's not in the room. So we've got misogyny. Oh, I wonder if that's where he got misogyny from instead of misogyny, because he was spelling it wrong. Because, yeah, if you spell it like that, it is misogyny. Well, he meant misogyny, and he just spelled it wrong. And it's male complacent. It's male compliment. Oh, Christ, that's right. He thinks misandry exists, by the way, if you weren't aware of that. My cat would be more likely to get laid. I'm just not going to let her out of the house to do that because I don't want kittens. So Lucas actually thinks misandry is a thing, if you weren't aware of that. But he thinks misandry is a thing. What do we got here? It is proven that women show great leadership skills, if not greater, and must be heard just as much as their male counterparts. That was like short. You would have thought for all the virtue signaling he was going to do with that, he would have made that longer, but okay. Misandry is basically anything insulting Lucas he thinks is an affront to men. Yeah, I know, I got to get her spayed. She's got an appointment next month. All right, now we're up to number 6. Responsibility, not dictatorship. Oh, no. So this Bill of Responsibility thing he mentions here is not like a made-up thing. For a while, that was some dumb shit that libertarians were actually trying to push. It's just like something you'd put up on a kindergarten wall or something. Anyway, in addition to the Bill of Rights, this country needs a Bill of Responsibility to demand from the public full participation. My Zippo is backwards. Full participation and equal burden. We feel that adult men and women should have a choice on all affairs, including but not limited to the responsibility of recreational drug use. Just going to pause for some recreational drug use. Let's see, gambling, prostitution, responsibilities at safe, valid, and clean coffee shop. Wait, what? Why is coffee shops the first thing there? Why is coffee shops the first thing there? Responsibility of recreational drug use, gambling, and the prostitution responsibilities at safe, valid, and clean coffee shops, casinos, and brothels. Okay, so I get casinos matches up with gambling, brothels matches up with prostitution. Why the fuck are coffee shops for recreational drug use? Yeah, it's a Zippo. And I flipped it open backwards the first time. A coffee shop where you can just like go get high. Why coffee shop? Like, why would you pick a coffee shop for that? Okay. Sure, Lucas. Technically, you could call caffeine a recreational drug, but yeah, he's pretty much banned from any coffee shop. They just have a picture of him there that says "Do not serve." In addition to these, I skipped a line. Adults should be treated like adults and not children. In addition to these responsibilities, we also believe having children is a responsibility and not a right that will possibly require a parenting license. Lucas is writing himself out of his own fantasies again. Just like marriage requires a marriage license, it's up to the councils. The National ID card and the Patriot Act must be repealed if we are to expect adults to act like adults and not children. Well, I mean, I don't really have any love for the Patriot Act. And drivers, I don't think the National ID card really went anywhere. They just sort of did the real ID thing for states to do. I gotta get mine redone. Holy shit, I have to get my driver's license redone too, because when I got mine done, it was just after I got divorced, and I was still on a fuck ton of psych meds I didn't need to be on, and was like still like super depressed, even though I was actually divorced and moving out. that I weighed like 250 fucking pounds, and I am down to like 175 now, and I really need a fucking different driver's license. Just look like a ham in a wig. It's bad, like bad even for a driver's license picture. I don't even like to bring it out. It's not a dictatorship. It's libertarian socialism. Have you not been paying attention? Where was I? I'm not paying attention apparently. All right, Patriot Act. Yeah, well, fuck the Patriot Act. I'm with him on that one. We can repeal that piece of garbage. All right, what have we got next? Transcendental politics, not fundamentalism. I already hate this one. Okay, fine. The slow food movement is an example of transcendental politics. Mass production has caused the world to move at super fast speeds without consideration for the public's health or welfare. That's not what mass production has done, but I get what you're trying to say. We wish to strive to promote businesses with extreme favoritism that are doing their part to keep I was hoping he was going to say to keep America great. To keep America healthy and free from a collapsing system in which the rich get rich and the poor get poor. Just call it end stage capitalism. That's what it is. It only makes sense to crack down on wage slavery. All right, I'll agree with him there. And to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Agree with him there. That was the actual intent of the minimum wage, was that it was to provide, a living minimal wage so you didn't have to struggle or be on social services. And it was supposed to be raised with the economy when inflation went up, but of course that never happened. Anyway, he's not wrong there. Anyway, end stage capitalism, crackdown on wage slavery, minimum wage, on par with the economy so that everyone can succeed in a slower economy devoted to handmade products and small businesses. Okay, so ideally, yeah. But realistically, everything's too interconnected. You can't slow down. And even if you could, it would still kind of just ramp back up. Those things just go in cycles. I get what he's saying here, and he's not actually. This number 7, despite some of his bad wording, is actually not bad ideas. I am perfectly fine buying local when I can. The problem is it's difficult to sometimes do that because a lot of times what a local business has to pay to be able to turn a profit and stay in business is significantly more expensive because they can't compete with overseas slave labor, more or less. Some of these things I think are copy-pasted. The ones where the grammar's not completely fucked, I'm pretty sure he just stole from just random libertarian pages, because this is just standard early 2000s libertarianism. I don't know why he added socialism into it, probably to make it sound like it was his own idea, but this is basically libertarianism. The original form, not the weird, we're living in a compound ready to fight the government if they come to take our guns level libertarianism that we seem to have now. This is what it was like, and I can say this as someone who remembers it very clearly, because I was in my when he wrote this, I would have been 24 or 25. So yeah, it is. I mean, this is what standard libertarianism was in the early 2000s. So there's nothing creative here that Lucas made up other than he added the word socialism to the end. What he's describing here is no more socialist than the National Socialist German Workers' Party, because it has the word socialist in it. I'm going to assume y'all know what that is. Libertarian socialism, not capitalism. The Localist Party believes that a government should be as small or minimal as possible and capitalism must end. Partial libertarianism. We are not communists, however. We do not believe in one corrupt government taking the role from another corrupt form of government. So this was back when he wasn't communist. Ultimately, we believe in zero government and worker control over the economy. That would be just plain socialism. Communism. Oh, whoa! What is this word? Is this a word? Is this a real word? Is this a badly misspelled word that I don't understand, or is this a real word that I just don't? What is this word? Neleves? Is he trying to type believes? Is this believes? This is believes, right? He's trying to say believes. This can't be a real word. I mean, maybe it is. It's possible. I don't know all words. That's what I have Google for. Well, Google says, did you mean believes? So I'm going to assume Lucas meant believes there and that he just mistyped it. Okay, so I'm not completely out of my mind. It was just a really bad typo. Okay. Leaves. Jesus Christ. Oh, I haven't scrolled. Smart. There we go. Anyway, here is leaves. He had to have meant believes. I'm going to go in my brain with believes. So, standard libertarianism, zero government, worker control of the economy. Communism, believes in worker control of the government. We do not. We believe in no government. We believe in no government. Sorry, puppy, I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry, puppy, I woke you up. He's mad, I woke him up, and now he's walking out of the room. Oh no, sorry, puppy. No government. A big sigh. I'm sorry, puppy. I know, you're trying to nap, and I'm being high and stupid. Alright, so they believe in no government, period. We believe the absence, spelled wrong, of capitalism of wealth. We are not Luddites. We believe that people should become more agrarian as well as technological. So, well, like steampunk. We believe that a state, if there is one, should be large enough to protect its citizenry that it cannot be spelled right from harm, violent, or otherwise unspecified social inequities, such as invasion, chaos, or a corporate state. Just such as invasion, chaos, Nope, no governments. I don't want any governments. I'm sorry, pup. He's laying down on the floor on the other side of me now. I guess he just didn't like me yelling in his direction. Let's see here. Chaos. There we go. A state, if it is necessary, however, should be small enough as to not interfere in the personal, economic, and political affairs. Then what's the point of the state? Why would you... As long as the public at large doesn't encroach on the rights of other individualisms via capitalism. Okay, so the problem with the libertarian experiments in the towns on the East Coast that have done it is that people do encroach. They realize that they can strong arm someone. They're not going to fight back. They can't fight back. They can't go to the police because there are no police. They can't go to the government because there is no government. And it doesn't even matter how much of the town bands together to say, hey, Jim, stop doing that dumb thing you're doing. He doesn't have to. He doesn't understand how anything works. The Localist Party is essentially a libertarian in government, socialist in economics. So this is the equivalent of a person saying, I'm social liberal, or I'm socially liberal but economically conservative. That's basically, he's doing the opposite of a libertarian here. Because typically in this time period, when you would talk to libertarians, they would tell you that they are socially liberal and economically conservative. That was their whole thing. This is just like the anti-libertarian, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but I keep moving the mouse around and I just highlight the wrong shit all the time. Oh, Christ, we're up to a manifesto. Ready for a manifesto? Oh, feel free to copy and distribute a Lucas C. Werner manifesto. So if anyone was wondering if Lucas ever did write a manifesto, he did write a manifesto, and we're gonna read his government manifesto. As soon as I'm slightly less sober, because this is long and I don't like it. I already don't like it. He's called it Business as Usual toward a North American Cooperative Commonwealth. When he says North American, I wonder if he's including Mexico and Canada. He had a lot of things to say about NAFTA in this one, if I recall. And the only thing I can think of when I hear the word NAFTA is that stupid chant they did when they were thinking of passing it was the NAFTA, we don't have to. That's a stupid slogan that's always going to be stuck in my head, and it's... Anyway. Business as Usual toward a North American Cooperative Commonwealth, a Lucas C. Werner manifesto. Feel free to copy and distribute. You heard him. Feel free to copy and distribute. Large corporations are growing ever larger... Jesus Christ. Large corporations are growing ever larger at a faster rate than ever before. They and the people that run them are starting to buy up more and more land to the point where the it's carte blanche, anyway, can purchase entire countries. Not He's like already wrong one sentence in. So the people who run large corporations can just buy entire countries if they want to. Override is one word, not two. National constitutions at the whim and fancy of the company board. They really can't. Renouncing international standards and practices of law, not really. Laws that protect the environment, human rights, and rights that were previously indivisible. Indivisible. For the generalized citizenry. Writ large. What? And rights that were previously indivisible for the generalized citizenry writ large. That was a whole thought. Okay. I don't know what writ large means in that context, but okay. All for the sake of concern of the shareholders. People everywhere are being exploited for no reason other than higher profit margins. Well, if it's for higher profit margins, there's your reason. It's not with no reason. No, this is not some grim notion of fictionalized future events. This exploitation is happening right here in the Americas and abroad via so-called free trade agreements such as NAFTA, the WTO, and the G8. This is classic libertarian bullshit right here. Libertarianism is one step away from fucking alt-right, so that tells you where Lucas's mind is. Backed by huge banking ventures such as the World Bank, free trade seems to be being applied all over the place at the mercy of the little person and the small business. It is more and more difficult for startup companies and family enterprises to stay afloat due to the monopolization of power and profits by large corporations and enterprises of the oligarchic state, which is bought and sold by the economic political system. Okay, Lucas. I'd like to think Karl Marx would punch Lucas in the face. We all have the illusion that all is all right. Well, we don't. Nobody has that fucking illusion. I haven't had that illusion since about 1999. Our economy is booming, right? In 2004-05, it wouldn't have been just before the upcoming recession, so it probably wasn't in an okay state then. The Dow Jones is rising, NASDAQ is stable, but problems are obvious. Jobs are being cut across the board, thanks to Mr. George Bush, who has cut more jobs in his brief stint in office than Ronald Reagan. What are left is being exported to other countries legally thanks to agreements like NAFTA. You might have picked up by now, but he really hated NAFTA, despite the fact that he clearly did not understand how NAFTA worked. I don't think I'm hoarding any women. I think they're at the party across the street, and I'm not because I got a shower cap on my head because I'm re-dyeing it. And I'm not in really any state to go out to parties with people 20 years younger than me. How the hell old are you? Just go look up the phrase "the NAFTA, we don't have to," and you'll get all the libertarian bullshit of what they thought of NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. Let's see. The exporting of America is bad for us and bad for them. Workers from other countries that work for next to nothing. It is practical slave labor in places like Mexico and Taiwan, where working conditions are hardly worth mentioning as they aren't even close to pleasant at the minimal wages are wherever the employer cares to afford, not exactly American standards. Okay, but the reason that the American companies did that was because the government here tried to raise taxes, enforce better labor laws, enforce pay, enforce shit like that. And the businesses just said, well, fuck you. If you're going to make us actually do shit where we have to care about our employees, we're going to go overseas. And they did. So that exodus was more or less caused by the government trying to say, hey, you need to pay more taxes. You need to have better working conditions. You need to not be assholes to your employees. You need to pay them. And you can't say no to unions. And then the bigger companies are like, well, fuck you. We'll go to Taiwan. We'll go to India. We'll go to Pakistan. We'll go to Vietnam because they don't have those labor laws and they're not going to enforce them. So if Lucas wonders what would happen in his little fantasy if we made American businesses do that, they'd leave because that's what they do, because there's other places they can go that won't enforce that shit so they can make more money. He's so close to like being right on that point, but then like swerves like at the last second and misses it entirely. But he still hates NAFTA. Back at home, both Republicans and Democrats are being bought and sold like the corporate shills that they are. Yeah, that's fair. Evidence through campaign soft money records, well, in the whole lobbying game. Third parties are hardly listened to. You can blame Ross Perot for that. Ross Perot had a very, very good chance of becoming like the first third party president, and he was ahead in polls, he was ahead in debates, he was ahead in everything. And I don't know if he was doing it for just like a monetary stunt or if he got some kind of weird ass threats or whatever. But a couple of months before the actual presidential election, everyone was thinking he was going to win it. He was popular with the people for a lot of reasons. He just kind of went, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm stepping down. I'm out. I'm dropping out of the race. That fucking ruined it for the chances of third parties ever getting anywhere, because this guy made it almost all the way to the end and then just kind of went psych. So he tainted every other third party campaign with these people are flakes. Lucas is mad at the wrong person here. Lucas doesn't even know what split the till means. Anyway, corporate shills. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, here's some stuff that didn't copy paste, right? Whereas in the past, third parties were a source of inspiration for new legislation such as the abolishment of slavery, women's rights to vote, and the 8-hour work. Some of that was unions, but okay. Yeah, the Green Party's hardly given any notice because they keep putting lunatics up at their front. Except when a high-profile person like Ralph Nader runs for presidential office. Ralph Nader turned himself into a joke. In the other case, they're hardly paid any notice. Yeah, because they don't have anything interesting to say. It's the big money's game. I don't think that's the word he meant to use there, where corporations are given huge tax breaks for providing campaign contributions to the two-headed political beast. It's hard to tell who's really in charge. The politicians or the corporate or the lobbyists are in charge. The lobbyists are the ones who get people elected, and then they gerrymander everything to make it work better. One thing's for sure, it's not the American people running things. Sure, we vote for our guy or gal, but we're so brainwashed by commercial media that our eyes are practically guided by the motions of political current. What? Okay. Yeah, just overthrow McDonald's and split the till. We'll all be good. We usually do what our neighbors do. Yeah, okay, so the last neighborhood I lived in for like the last 16 years I was in that house, there was a guy across the street who let his aggressive dogs run loose because freedom, never mind the leash laws. And the neighbors on two sides were very loud Trump supporters who did not care for me. And my ex my ex was way more conservative than she ever let on, so I'm pretty sure she was on their side. I am not. I am way in the hell off in left field. So yeah. I definitely did not want to be like my neighbors, and my neighbors, I think, were glad when I moved out. I don't miss them either. They never actually tried to steal anything, but they would make like disgusted noises that like the flags would have out. They'd do shit like call the city if they thought our lawn was like a half-inch above regulation. They were just assholes. Living next to Trump supporters is just like a pure form of hell, but at least they're easy to fuck with because they get mad so easily. Where was I? Oh, let me go. Let's see. In Howard Zinni's book, The Peoples of the United States, he illustrates numerous revolts of repressed, repressed is not the right word here. Anyway, people since the time of Columbus. Many were quashed, but many still succeeded. Landlord and capitalist alike throughout history have been overthrown by co-optive ventures and have been brought under the mercy of our labor unions. Mercy of the labor unions. Okay, well, unions are a good thing, so I gotta actually get this scrolled up to where y'all can see it. Ralph Nader runs. Ha! That's where I am. So ultimately, Lucas says, the faults of society are our own. We are the ones responsible for its ills as citizens. So are we the ones responsible for cleaning it up and reshaping it. We poorer elements of society have had a long history of uprising. He's talking about mercy of the labor unions. Unions are a good thing, but they have two major faults. Oh, this ought to be good. This is going to be standard libertarian talk here. If they get too large, they do not stick around for long. And What does he think happens to large unions? You didn't say suppress for sure. Yeah, when you grew up in the 80s when the Cold War was still going on, literally nothing Russia does surprises you because it's just the way they act. I mean, yeah, they're technically not Soviet Union. They're technically not what they were before, but just about all the news stories I grew up with around Russia had to do with Russia invading this, Russia threatening to invading that, Russia going in here where they're not supposed to, Russia putting their toe over this line, Russia making rude faces at the U.S. ambassador through a camera. So I can't say anything Russia's doing is the least bit surprising me because you just burn out on hearing it's like, oh, Russia's doing an asshole thing again. Okay, well, it's probably just Russia, whatever. But yeah, none of that's surprising to me. Lucas probably, that'd be a fun one. Ask Lucas his opinion on the situation in Ukraine. He would probably try to justify Putin because he's got such a hard-on for Stalin. All right. Let's see, we got, Stalin, well, he's mentioned him here. Let's see here. Let's see, organization of small co-optive union enterprises into coalitions, confederations, and into a workers' party known as council politics. This is the opposite of revolutionary politics, which favors an overthrow of government by brute force. What does the council do? These revolutions usually fail because they are led by the bourgeoisie, middle class, instead of the proletariat, working class, lower class, and do not end up in a true communist state, but rather a controlled monopoly communism. Lucas, he's more coherent back in the day here, but his ideas are just as fucking stupid. I'm pretty sure if you told Lucas that Putin was trying to reform the Soviet Union and bring it back to the glory days of Stalin, he would absolutely be on Putin's side. Because he's an idiot. Capitalism plagued by the same or more problems than representative democracy or old world feudalism are what, in actuality, these systems really are. Mao, Stalin, Castro, Noriega, I'm surprised you remember Noriega at all, were bourgeoisie, not proletariat. Oh, so the reason that Mao, Stalin, Castro, and Noriega were so absolutely shit about everything they did was because they were middle class and not working class. That totally... That's the reasoning, huh? That's it. I need to either put my lighter down or put my tea down because I've tried to light my tea 3 times now and that's not going to work out for me. A bunch of lunatics on the world stage. The workers must establish absolute control. There are a lot of excuses to this nature. Well, my employer gives me stock options. Let it be said that is just a ruse to keep the worker appeased while the real drama and carry-ons are still dictated by their bosses. When a dictatorship of the proletariat is heard by most, they get scared. What? When a dictatorship of the proletariat is heard by most, they get scared. Who gets scared? I need to send him. So the place I grew up in the Midwest, and we had this local PBS show called Story Lords that was basically just a show to teach kids, elementary school kids, reading skills and sentence structure, sentence diagramming, how to make your thoughts clear, how to figure out what something is saying if you don't understand what it's saying. This is well before the internet existed, so you couldn't exactly just Google it. So from an educational standpoint on how to learn how to read, it's really good, and Lucas should probably watch it if he wants to continue to, write, or he should just go back to school. Anyway, when dictatorships of the proletariat is heard, the people mostly get scared. Understandable. People hear the word dictator and not proletariat. It's because you called it a dictatorship. The words you say after dictatorship don't matter. Dude, Story Lords is great. I will fight you. But seriously, somebody uploaded the whole series. It's like a 2 hour long video, and it's so gloriously campy, but it actually does teach like good reading skills for little kids or people who are not like super familiar with how English grammar works. But yeah, got Thor Zool with his little motorbike, and I know all the locations they filmed at because I grew up in that area. Yeah, it was Story Lords is awesome. Anyway, it was something being scared of dictators. Workers must, the proletariat hears the word dictator and gets scared because people hear the word dictator, not proletariat. It's because you said the word dictator. The word dictator means certain things. You can't just change it because you put the word proletariat in front of it. Well, go watch Story Lords and I'll go watch Square One. Okay. In a proletarian dictatorship, power is spread out to many instead of concentrated in the hands of a few. That's not a dictatorship. Everyone in the Workers' Party would get an equal vote due to the fact that it is run by them, and they are not simply card-carrying members of, in a directly democratic system, one vote per person in all applicable affairs. What he described is literally not a dictatorship. I might actually learn shit on Square One then, because I suck at math. Yeah, the people who are bigging up Russia and China now are trying to angle it as this everything you know about them is Western propaganda. And yeah, there's some propaganda involved, but a lot of it's not. And that's talking about their government systems and military behaviors, not the people. He's talking about his stupid dictatorship that's not a dictatorship. Here's where I am. Here's how far I have to scroll. Okay, corporations and the government should be run like a co-op. God damn it, Lucas. More on that later. The only reason this is called a dictatorship is due to the fact that it excludes the bourgeoisie. That's not what a dictatorship is. It's not a dictatorship to exclude somebody. Story Lords was very, very specific to like northwestern Wisconsin and parts of Minnesota. It was put out by the local PBS channels. But more on that later. The rich capitalist. In a system such as ours, they already have their political parties. They're called Republicans and Democrats. Okay, so we're US-centric here. In the United States, there has never been a powerful party built up slowly of the blue-collar, factory and service worker, manual laborer, and the destitute, which is exactly why it should be done. Outrageous! A political party strictly for the working, stiff, and poor? Absurd, but I digress. You just imagine him stroking his gross little puby mustache while he's saying that kind of shit. The real issue is our contact with the rest of the world, especially the role of trade. If we are to have true representation of the people, it is only particular that we are to abolish free trade agreements entirely and replace them with a flat-out accordance of fair trade in their place. Fair trade just makes more sense. Oh, please explain what you think fair trade is, Lucas. This is probably something Oliver would have written. Maybe he'll write this in as this being the first manifesto Oliver wrote. Maybe this is the first thing President Wern published. So why does fair trade make more sense? Who the fuck knows? But let's find out. Fair trade just makes more sense. It's better for everyone because free trade fosters negation of constitutional boundaries and monitoring by the government from whence they were spawned. With free trade, any company can just pick up and move south of the border, escaping the regulatory monitoring, and with itself run like a shogun warlord, corporate policy does not have to apply in Mexico. Those fools will work for pennies, says the rich capitalist. Okay. I'm surprised Marx hasn't just like risen up from the dead to like haunt Lucas for this kind of bullshit. I'm quiet because I'm reading the chat now because I haven't been looking at it for a minute. Maybe I should scoot this over a little bit further. Of course, then I'm never going to remember when to scroll. Whatever. Well, Lucas thinks that's what NAFTA is for the most part. He was one of those people that didn't understand NAFTA, and you probably could have found him muttering to himself, "NAFTA, NAFTA, we don't have to." Lucas is just. Oh God, he's getting. Oh no, here we go. There's where we are. It is exactly what Karl Marx predicted. Capitalism and its economic backlog of brutal despotism are turning out to be the new feudalism, and the worker is merely a serf with better gas mileage. I guess original serfs got really poor gas mileage. It is no wonder socialism took off where feudalism resigned. In the new feudalism, there must also be a new communism. You just said socialism. You are mixing up words. One with a business model. Money can still be made. Look at how co-ops are functioning. To understand how money can be made in a socialist system, we must look further into what communism and capitalism are. Oh my God. Webster's New World Dictionary defines capitalism as the economic system in which all or most of means of production and distribution are privately owned and operated for profit under competitive conditions. Communism is any economic theory based on the ownership of all property by the community as a whole. Sounds like a co-op to me. And a co-op is the elemental building block to a workers' party. So profit is still to be made, only in such a way that the wealth is shared. Thanks for the dictionary. Karl Marx would call Lucas a parasite. Okay, I am not advocating that the state owns all community in common, only that the elemental building blocks of the party are owned in this way. It only makes sense. It does not. Let us go a little deeper into the realm of cooperatives. If Bill makes $7 an hour, then Sue makes $7 an hour. Even though Bill is the current president and Sue is the comptroller, they still get paid the same wage because they and 5 other individuals own the co-op in common. Another exciting aspect of co-optive ventures is the rotating board. Unlike corporations where a board is typically set, a rotating board would allow the head officers' positions to be re-voted on upon regular intervals. That is how an actual board works as well. Bill may be president from the 2005 to 2006 fiscal year, but Sue, Charlie, Felix, Monique, Alan, or Ahmet may become president for the following fiscal year of 2006, 2007. So it's like a literal board of directors. Like he realizes people get elected to boards of directors, right? Like in some cases you can buy your way on, but in most cases you get elected to the. I don't like any of those characters. As I stated previously, these co-ops may band with others to form a coalition for stability. Let us say Bill and Sue's co-op is a grocery store, and they may band with another co-op elsewhere that sells magazines and another that functions as a juice bar. The magazine store and juice bar may be banded into a pro shop and a health club, respectively, but may have nothing to do with Bill and Sue, be it some imperative on a grocery store's side of a business policy. Maybe Bill and Sue do not want to associate with the pro shop because they will not sell the store's homemade hacky sacks. Wow, that dates this one. Or maybe the pro shop just has a different fiscal policy. Again, what have you. The point is, if you get through enough of these cooperatives loosely in common, a large coalition can indeed be formed. And if a coalition can be formed, a confederation can be formed, all the way up to a workers' party. I think it would be an exciting adventure and bold undertaking. Ambitious, yes, but not impossible. What the fuck was that? Yeah, hacky sacks were definitely a thing. Yeah, this is just. I wonder what happened to his squonk game. No, this isn't more Oliver Dangle. This is Lucas tried to form a political party back in like 2004, 2005. And this is the manifesto. We're into his manifesto for his Libertarian Socialist Party. Progress is constantly being made with the new progressive movement itself. It cannot turn on the TV any. Oh, I cannot. Oh, thanks, better. I cannot turn on the TV anymore without hearing something about trade agreements. That's because NAFTA was in the works when you were writing this. When I was in high school, the WTO was being formed, and no one around here in Washington State who was against NAFTA was for the WTO either. That didn't really make sense, but okay. It was great. All these young people, not much older than myself, were coming out in droves to protest the WTO conference in Seattle. Sure, there was violence on both sides, but most of the protesting was peaceful. What these people are against is free trade, the excuse large corporations use to override international law. Today, protests have go on from coast to coast and all across the globe, from Seattle to Britain and Denmark to Africa and about anywhere else imaginable. That's really all he could imagine. Okay. Right. Just recently, there was a concert that attracted over 200,000 patrons in Britain to help out a cause against the G8 conference, another large umbrella multi-core to import sweatshop labor and cruelty to man and beast alike. With these what all these protesters are for is for the concept known as fair trade. Fair trade promotes environmental crackdowns. Fair trade promotes labor unions. Fair trade promotes protecting democracy. Fair trade is just better for everyone except the capitalist. And that's the only reason, I think these were quotes that got fucked up. Free trade is protected. Oh, thank God. 2005 is when he wrote this. The co-op and fair trade make up what could become the North American Cooperative Commonwealth, NAC. Okay. At its finest, people are starting to organize again. There is a true enemy in sight. We are seeing the evils of capitalism in an age when capitalism sees all as evil that runs through it. Most protesters are peaceful, but sadly, some only see the path to peace through the barrel of a gun. This kind of attitude is contradictory to the whole goal. The ends do not justify the means. Violence will only beget more violence. Look at Bolshevism, look at Maoism, look at violence in America. We, a nation riddled with past and present extreme cruelty and violence. There are places in Europe where police officers do not even need to carry a gun because guns aren't legal, but okay. All right. I wonder what psychologists would say about this. Some bodies somewhere. Why did he split that into two words? Some bodies somewhere seems to be packing some sort of weaponry on either side. It is the very definition of bullshit politics. What is he talking about? I'd kick a hacky sack right in his hacky sack. The only way workers can achieve their goals by organization, civil disobedience, and by forming a workers' party off the radar screen as far as possible. You don't have to specify radar screen, you can just say off the radar. We are out there shooting off guns and blowing up municipal areas. We are nothing but terrorists, and terror we will beget. This is sinking to their level. We must rise above and show them that we are better than them. Okay. Oh, let's do some imagining. We're going to do some imagining on Lucas's terms here. This should also be good. He misspelled fouled. I read ahead. Let us imagine we have stopped playing with guns like children. Let us imagine that a workers' party has nominated a candidate for president. What should that campaign be about, boys and girls? What would the duty of the Workers' Party president? Well, this person's job is to continue the goals of the Workers' Party. The workers are much different than any other party before it. They are really a party of confederations, all with different views. Oh, I fidget. I'm just opening and closing my lighter. I'll put that down and find something quieter to fidget with. Oh, where was I with this stupid thing? Really are a party of confederations, all with different views. Like the Greens of Europe, various groups are one. The first order of business should be some platforms. The main platform should be about co-opting. The main platform should really be an all-out co-opting of America and the economy. That's probably not going to get you elected. Unlike previous politicians have positioned. Okay. The state should not be run like a business because the government is a totally different entity from a corporation. Well, I mean, yeah, the government shouldn't be run like a business because it's not a business, it's government. Running a government like a fractured business seems to be too resemblant of a military campaign, especially how businesses are run today, private entities dividing and conquering. That's competition. It makes for a smaller government, to be sure, but at what cost? Ultimately, only the elite rich will be able to afford Social Security, and he doesn't know what Social Security is. All right, but only the ultra-rich elite will be able to afford Social Security, I guess. That's where we are now. And the like, and the government will no longer be able to regulate programs that are now only out to make a buck. No. I think what he did is he like copy-pasted some stuff, and then he didn't want everyone to know that he was like copy-pasting it, and just sort of made it indecipherable. Instead, he's offering up a solution. This should be great. Okay, here's Lucas's solution. Instead, I offer up this solution. Run the governments like a cooperative, direct democracy through initiative and referenda in some states, and have new laws enacted that would demand corporations over a certain size be broken up. So antitrust and anti-monopoly laws, which already exist, but okay, continue. And the rest of the economy, you guessed it, runs cooperatively. No details. Okay. This new legislation would be enacted across the board from huge multicorps like Enron and Microsoft to mom and pops everywhere. We could also make the big utilities governmental, as is done in places like New Zealand. That way there could be some corporatization of large enterprises, yet at the same time, a push for direct democracy and worker ownership control at the rest. We could be an example to the rest of the world of what a cooperative commonwealth should be. The North American Cooperative Commonwealth, a national project. I mean, yeah, we could do that if you wanted to be a laughing stock, worse than we already fucking are for a lot of reasons. Yeah, no, not gonna go along with this one. Yeah, I don't remember that guy's name either. I think if more people felt and truly did have a stake in the country, they would care about it more. Okay, that's a fair point. They would care enough to lessen pollution. Heck! Heck, he said heck. Well, heck and heck. Heck, they might even be more willing to defend her in the military in times of war. Workers would not feel like they're being lorded over by their bosses because they would be their own bosses and would have more stake in the company and the nation. Beats mere stock options and corporate law. I don't know, I liked having stock options. In the way of the political process, business would change for the better, people would be happier, there would be more freedom and responsibility in the hands of the populace. We could make this nation great again. There it is, the Make America Great Again. Lucas Werner's Make America Great Again, October 7th, 2005. With a few minor changes, because life would be a daily project to become better citizens and better people in this new participatory system of governance and economic parity. Lucas C. Werner, author, last updated October 7th, 2005 at fucking 12:30 in the morning. And then he goes on, like, his manifesto is over, but this was also on his political page. He just, like, goes on an atheist spurg, and he brings women and money and power into it as well. So, like, even before Suzanne, hey, Lucas could sue Trump. Lucas said, make America great again first in his own political thing. Christ, I'd love to see that happen. Yeah. So, this part of his manifesto-y, whatever the fuck this is, page, sounds a lot like his more recent post-Suzanne pure incel ramblings, especially, his most recent stuff. When I say most recent, I mean from like late 2019 to current. And it's worth noting that this, since I have finally found the date on there, This is something that he had posted in 2005. So these are not like new thoughts or new opinions or new like weird fucked up ways he thinks the world should work. He's thought like this since his early 20s. He would have been in October. He would have been 20. He would have still been 24. Um, so this is not like 16-year-old Lucas writing this shit. Probably. I don't actually know much about Susanna. She's made it really clear that she like wants nothing to do with anything to do with Lucas again. And I know I've mentioned it on other streams before and in comments, but like seriously, if you find her or any of his family's Facebooks or anything like that, don't bother them. They don't want anything with Lucas to do for a good reason. And yeah, we start this one out with a spelling error. Christianity is fouled up and always has been, always will be. Why? Because we're basically getting secondhand knowledge. Supposedly, we are supposed to pray to Jesus and he alone will relay to God. God is busy. Leave a message at the sound of the angelic choir. Jesus' words were never followed. Love thy neighbor, be good people, blah, blah, blah. Instead, it's translated that the powerful and beautiful people are righteous and should be followed. That's okay. Not really, but all right. In the Middle Ages, the warlord pagans converted and everyone wants to be a warlord, right? In the Middle Ages, the warlord pagans converted and everyone wants to be a warlord, right? Am I missing a point? Like, am I missing a point in that statement? I don't know. She probably thought he was cute and needed basically a mommy. Christianity was merely just a rider on the warlord bill. Sure, join the barbarian hordes, decent pay, endless supply of harlots, but first you have to be saved and repented in your sins. Before I read this one out, this is Lucas's view. This is not my view. This is a purely Lucas Werner word. Christianity is just Judaism's cliff notes anyhow. No wonder Judas betrayed him to the... It's not what Judaism is, but anyway. Big J was giving a summary and made Judaism more accessible to the fools. Again, not correct. What he chose to take or left they took or let. What he chose to take or left they took or left. Okay. Mostly left, watered it down, made it lazy and common. Shop talk Judaism, with all the parts that made it Judaism left out. Again, no. You ever see The Princess Bride, where all the romantic parts were removed and the graphic violence and cool dialogue were pumped up for a 12-year-old? Yeah, he did. I'm not going to gloss over that. I'm going to go back because that's just a funny little thing about Lucas here. Let's go back to the thing about Judas there. Christianity was just Judaism's cliff notes anyhow. No wonder Judas betrayed him. He does sort of imply that, yeah. Anyway, Princess Bride, same deal. The only difference is that Christianity isn't funny or even fun. It's called the gospel, but it ain't the truth. What Jesus did was blasphemy. Blasphemy, huh? Is that like a step up from blasphemy? Like you just do it harder? Instead, changing Judaism. Does he actually think that Christianity is what happened when Jesus took Judaism and just ran with it and made his own little story? Is that what he thinks it is? Oh my God. What Jesus did was blasphemy. Instead of changing Judaism for the better, It split off and did its own thing, like a rebel, a holiday devil, a reindeer in every pot, and a piece of landscaping next to every mantle. Sure, does he think Christianity is an offshoot of Judaism? Like when you've got a Protestants versus the Catholics versus the Methodists? Is that what he thinks? Oh my God. But is that what we're supposed to do? Be myth believers? We may as well eat paint chips. Not that there's anything wrong with that if that's your thing. I just rather not consider cobalt blue a nice aperitif. I'd rather not let a 2,000-year-old myth guide my moral character. Okay, the paint chips joke, Lucas, is because old paint tended to have lead in it and it tasted sweet, which is why children would eat it. It didn't really have much to do with the pigment, but okay. He's gonna bitch about Jesus for a while. But yeah, that's early Christianity. Yeah, that part I definitely understand. The way he's worded it, he makes it sound like that's what it still is. And that's definitely not what it still is. I don't know why he even mentioned Judas to begin with in there. He probably just meant some sort of like, well, Jesus was fucking up the whole Jewish thing and that's why Judas got pissed. But the way he worded it did make it sound like he thought it was like the worship of Judas. Which I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Maybe that's not what he meant. All right, so we're back to Jesus. Jesus was like no man, really. This I believe. But how? He was still just a man. He acts a lot like an erotic dancer. That was not where I was expecting that to go. So Jesus acts like an erotic dancer, all pissed off for no reason when he doesn't get his currency. Well, yeah, a dancer has every right to get pissed if she's dancing for you and you don't pay her. That's her job. So, okay, stripper Jesus has every right to be pissed if you're not paying and you're still watching the show. saying he's all we need. He acts like a modern day whore, an actress, a woman of the night that will only leave you hurt. The girls on the silver screen will only scar you. Everyone knows it's true, but nobody says anything about it. It's no wonder he attracted 12 men into his inner circle. The apostles should have been women. That's my Jesus, a real player. If only Jesus was a black guy or Italian. I want Jesus with a harem. Wait, what is he? Well, apparently Jesus was surrounded by 12 men who should have been women because he acted like a stripper whore. Jesus with a harem, or perhaps Jesus should have been with a woman, Mary Magdalene. And she is mentioned often. Jesus just reminds me of Morrissey. Don't get me wrong, Morrissey is cool, but I see a lot of parallels between rock stars and Jesus, especially the androgynous ones like Morrissey and Bowie. It's either a no-holds-barred grudge match with authority or a romantic declaration. Really bipolar. Apparently Jesus is a thought, according to Lucas. Bipolar, manic depression in style when taken as a whole. Androgynous, ambiguous, ambidextrous. Telling some to back off and some to come closer, like a shaman meets Count Dracula? But in Jesus, the roles are reversed. He was more a magician than a priest, more a sergeant in the Salvation Army than a true dark soul. About as dark as the military? What in the fuck am I reading? I'm gonna mark it because I am gonna forget because I'm gonna look away. Do any of you have any idea what the fuck I'm reading here? because it just turned into like rambling word salad about 5 minutes ago, and I've been doing that thing where my brain just says, this is the word that I see, and it is the word that is coming out of your mouth. I do not understand why. I don't know what he's talking about. I have no idea what he's talking about at this point. Maybe this will help. I'm hoping maybe getting less sober will make this help. That's the Wern hole around here, and it's filthy. You're going to want a mask. Okay, so I'm going to try to pick this up again. See, I started sober, and I thought that would work, but sober just sort of made me annoyed, so then I didn't want to open the bottle of wine I had, and the pile of weed was closer anyway. So I probably had like way too much of that, and then I did grab a benzo, because why the fuck not? It's Sunday, and I do need to be in bed before midnight. And the combination of benzos and weed are definitely going to knock me out in a couple hours. I have a valid prescription for that, and it is actually to make it so I can function around other people in public on days when I'd rather just punch them in the face. Lucky me. So, about as mystical as reaching higher knowledge through the aid of now he's talking about hallucinogenics. Okay, that's great. That's what we need here. Why do I say this? Because why would a messiah entertain with parlor tricks like turning water into wine? Listen, if you can do alchemy by waving your hand, I'm cool with that. Yeah, and the wine is in a Canar bottle, and it's the one that I haven't opened, so I really don't want to open it because I want to keep one sealed. It's a red blend that is in the Canar bottles right now. Honestly, I have trash wine taste. I will buy like the cheapest, driest red and absolutely love it. And it doesn't even matter what the brand are, like $3 fucking bottles of red. I do like good port wine though, except I do port wrong because I don't like it warm or like room temperature. And I once, like, there's a client that we have that's a really big, like, wine guy, like, a really big wine guy. And sometimes I like to horrify him by telling him how I drink wine. And the face he made when I told him that I would pour a glass of port into a glass that had been frozen, or just stick my port wine in the freezer for about 45 minutes to make it just vaguely slushy because it tasted better that way. You would have thought I just, like, sucked his soul right out of his whole body when I said that. But it tastes good, so fuck you, I don't care. Where was I? So Jesus can do alchemy, and that's a bad thing. Okay. Why would he prefer the company of his men to his women? Is his implication here that he's mad that, like, Jesus is just, like, getting more ass than he is? Hop on Tinder, be greedy with the women. So let's see, why would a messiah entertain with power tricks, turning water into wine? Why would he prefer the company of his men to the women? Some men like men, Lucas. Maybe he was just playing hard to get, but I doubt it. The messiah would show how the trick was done in order for us to be more like him. The messiah would be more respectful of his mother instead of calling her woman. Lucas calls women females all the time. Oh, maybe that's better than woman. He just seems like a rude hot dogger to me. His tricks can be remanufactured. Anyone can confess and demand undying love and devotion, and plenty will die for you, and that's what it takes to get your attention. And while we're on the subject of crucifixion, we weren't on the subject of crucifixion, but okay. And while we're on the subject of crucifixion, it seems really like a cry for help. Look, ma, no hands, no blood in the circulatory system either. I'm a real hero. Does he does realize that crucifixion was like an actual method of execution that was used in the Roman Empire, right? And that they didn't nail you through your hands because that would just rip off and you would like fall. It went through your wrist and you were just sort of left out there to dehydrate in the sun. Like, he knows crucifixion was like not just a thing that happened in the Bible. It was like a real form of slow execution. He probably doesn't know that because he's a fucking idiot. And then the assemblies of Christ good, we're almost done. Seems to me that he taught women how to act anyhow. It's all the women who really control the earth, but if they say no, they mean no, just like Jesus. Women were much more submissive in those days. But since Jesus, they have become much more powerful. We may not have a woman president, but that's because women are smart. They know that's not where the power is. The power is behind the throne. THROWN throne. The power's behind the throne. I mean, I guess if you're pick someone up and throw them and you're behind them, then you're the power. I guess. I don't know. The power behind the throne. Okay. The interworkings of the machine. Condi Rice is much more influential than George W. Bush any day of the week. A woman merely has to exist to be more powerful than a man. God, my house echoes since I made that table smaller. Gotta put more shit in that room again. So it seems, in actuality, because Jesus taught women how to act like women of the future, he in turn taught men to act more like the men of the future. I'm not saying anything really. I concluded that a while ago. Just wondering about the possibility. It is a proven fact that women handle stress better than men. Yeah, because they have to handle men. And if you didn't have the ability to handle stress and you had to handle men, you'd have a lot of dead men. Just a lot of them. Yeah, Game of Thrones. Okay, so handling and the knowledge that you're going to be handling and nailing and handling the knowledge that you're going to be nailed to a pole seems like it would be mighty stressful. So is he implying now that Jesus was a woman? And while women have one time of the month when they are off kilter, men have several. Jesus only got really pissed off here and there, like he was driven by the phases of the moon. Is he calling Jesus a woman? Is that what's happening here? Okay, so we got Jesus in the phases of the moon. We're just more moody girls. It's true. Look, oh boy, here we go. Look at our world. We'll do crazy things to be with a woman, like punch holes in our heads with bolts and get ink injected underneath is not spelled that way. Our epidermises and act tough and act tough to conquering Europe if we can get some action. We're supposed to be conquering Europe? Is that... Who the fuck's... No, who's tried to conquer Europe since the 40s? And even the last time someone tried to conquer Europe, it was part of Europe that tried to conquer part of Europe, but it doesn't really count. But apparently we all just want to conquer Europe after we get our tattoos. Let's go get some tattoos and invade Europe. But it doesn't specify which part of Europe. I would probably avoid the Balkan area. They are known to fight back. But I guess if we're going to go get some tattoos and invade, or not just invade, we got to conquer Europe. God damn. I don't think any of them are going to appreciate that. Oh, well. And that's just to get laid. I guess once we get laid, then we can give Europe back. And it's all done in the name of Jesus. Look at these tough bikers and despots. Most are highly religious, but who are the gossipy ones? Mostly women. Because they are suppressed. They have to get the information out there in as short of time as possible before being persecuted again. Not always, but mostly, but it's not their fault. I blame the Jesus and the Jesus and the apostles. Terrible gossips. Similar situations. So where and how did it get all backwards? What is the Dark Ages? All I know is that it's not the way to be. We need to go back and re-examine Christianity for what it is, not just for the words, but their actions. There needs to be a paradigm shift. I hope Christianity isn't... hope isn't in Christianity, however, it's already too late. Neither is it in something that worships... Why is he wording shit like this? I guess bikers, yeah, are mostly religious. So, it's in something that worships, which worships a female entity either. Neither is it in something that worships, which worships a female entity either. That is not a thought. but something is distinctly human and real, something Earth-like, something old. I don't know, I'm just suggesting. But in my view, we need to return to spirituality without Jesus. We need to return to nature without... Nature is one giant hierarchy, Lucas. It's too late for anything else, but it's not too late to change our evil, misguided ways, Lucas C. Werner. That was on his political party page, by the way. It has like nothing to do with his local list, whatever the fuck that was. And I've already done the assembly. I'm not getting into that fucking nightmare again, but that was the prelude to Oliver Dangle. I think I need to update this page again, too, because I think that thread is up to like 1,900 pages now. This is like the worst web page ever because I didn't want to like pay any extra to have pages that could be separate pages, so it's just one long fucking page. That must be the assembly. Yeah, that's the assembly. But yeah, this was the Localist Party. I'm sure he made his views and platforms extremely clear, and that none of you have any questions about anything because Lucas made it clear. Oh, but murder is illegal unless you sign a consent waiver. Why do I remember that? Hey, get back there. Lucas actually thought that was going to take off. I mean, and that was the time when he was calling himself the Wizard, I'm pretty sure. Which honestly is one of the funnier aspects of shit Lucas has done, is calling himself the Wizard. Yeah, that was about it. I know, it's amazing. It's a perfectly amazing logo. Just drag my screen all over the place. I wonder if he's put anything up in his Instagram yet. I haven't checked for anything. I hope that was just... I like that I could also find this video with spelling with the Wern. Am I on an account that's blocked? No! So yeah, this was a video he posted last night. He's mostly been posting memes. He's looking really rough, though, if you hadn't seen this one.
Consume ourselves out of a global...
I haven't got this one uploaded to YouTube yet, but
climate collapse. We can't out-eat or out-buy ourselves out of...
Like, I know this is bad lighting and shit, but he looks fucking rough. I'm just going to mute this one because I've heard it before and it's on another stream and whatnot, but just look at him. I mean, you can't even blame the lighting on it. I mean, look at his chin, is like little waddle is like practically down to his collarbone. Gus is ringing his bell again in case anyone's wondering what the dinging is. But he looks like he's getting close to having another meltdown. Yeah, he's going to go vegan. He'll eat just a block of vegan cheese and call it good. But like, he's looking rough, like medication puffy rough. His beard is patchier than normal. I don't think they're giving him good enrichment at that job. But yeah, no, I just wanted to showcase how fucking terrible he looks. He stole a bunch of memes. I mean, okay, technically he didn't steal this meme. This is just... I should probably make that smaller so I don't have to keep doing that every time. A drop of avoidance is worth more than an ocean of faith. Doesn't make any sense, but okay. Gen Z babes are everywhere. They're just avoiding you. Yeah, oddly enough, that was the name his like shitty homes had given him, but he knew the name and like responded to it. Like he'd look at you when he'd say it, so I just kept his name. But he's cute, but he's not very nice because he spent the first like 5 years of his life either being hit or thrown against the wall for making noise, and then he spent 2 years in a dark heated shed with nothing but a mirror, food bowl, and a water bowl. So he's not mean, but he will let me handle him in a towel if I think it's necessary to clean him. And he's mostly bald because he was a self-mutilator. And I don't mean just a self-plucker. He was a self-mutilator, like gouging into his own skin. So he's bald in several places. He's not scared so much of my hands anymore, but I still can't touch him without a towel. He will try to break a finger. The only time I'm allowed to touch him is when he's wrapped in a towel and I'm preening pin feathers off the back of his head for him. But yeah, his name is Gus. He is coming up on 25, I think. But yeah, these stupid things, like, he just assumes, like, I don't understand the logic that goes through his head with the, well, I don't believe in God, why doesn't God send me a bay? Like, come on. Yeah, he got stuffed in my car when I worked at Geek Squad. Like, the two guys that were living there, I mentioned I had birds, and the one's like, oh, you have birds? You like birds? I'm like, yeah, I like birds. He's like, wait. And he goes out, and I see him stuffing a cage into the driver's seat of my car, and I'm like, what? And they said, oh, he's free. You can have everything. Just the only stipulations, you can never bring him back here. I'm like, okay. Made I call my spouse at the time, and I had signal again. I'm like, so this customer just, like, shoved a whole parrot into my car, so we have another bird. Yeah, Lucas is still on the Gen Z Bays thing. Right now, he's doing the religious angle nonsense again, mixed with the environmental nonsense again. When that doesn't work, I'm sure he'll start yelling about bigots again. Yeah, he's on a Jesus kick right now. And just stealing memes. Yeah, stealing memes. Appreciate a man who's trying, because a lot of men don't give a fuck. It's like, look, the thing that makes this funny is, like, yeah, that's true to an extent, but Lucas thinks the more you try, the better it is, and there's a line. Like, if you're trying too hard or trying too much, you're just creepy. Yeah, he hasn't really done any original content in a while now. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to do his Libertarian Party thing, because that's one that is not super well known if you missed when we were talking about it on Kiwi Farms, and it's kind of buried. He doesn't want to. Well, he yes and no. So he said a couple of different things on that. He has increased his age range from 18 to 30 now, but he no longer wants to have kids. So now that he doesn't want to have kids, he's willing to go up to 30 now. And he's not going to get any of them, but, you know. Yeah, that was a lie. Like everything else, Lucas says that was a lie. This should be interesting. Let's see what this is. So that's obviously one of Lucas's things that somebody stole. But what is this? Why did that show up as tagged Lucas Werner? Okay. Lucas doesn't think he should be getting more desperate as he's getting older, because Lucas thinks that he is, like, in the prime. Like, Lucas believes he's at his, like, sexual peak at his age because of the research that he didn't understand. No, and that makes me so unhappy. There's a couple people on the farms I've told, but he did actually get a job offer, and it was not for, like, a remote position. It was for a local company, but he didn't want to say what it was or even what, you know, industry it was, because he's, like, terrified that people are, like, just gonna, like, try to get him fired. But I will be very surprised if that job offer went through, for various reasons, and I'm sure when those reasons happen, Lucas will post them publicly, because he'll want people to feel sorry for him. But yeah, the job thing, I'm almost 100% sure didn't pan out. But he did actually get an offer from somewhere. He just wouldn't say where. But yeah, it should be interesting to see what March brings for him. Nothing he's going to like, I'm sure. The old puppy went back up on the couch. He must not be mad anymore. At least I think it's okay. That's the puppy. I thought it was a pile of towels at first. Potentially, but he doesn't really have. I mean, if they looked in his social media, they would probably find grounds to not hire him. But when you look into his actual past, the charges that he has aren't charges that would really prevent you from getting a lot of jobs. Um, I know why the offer was rescinded, and it has nothing to do with them having Googled him or looking up his past. Which means it's incredibly embarrassing and hilarious. And I can't say anything because I'm pretty sure he hasn't told anybody else. Or maybe he has. I mean, there's a couple of group chats. People have asked if I was in like group chats that Lucas has started, but no, I'm not in any of his group chats. So if you ever see anyone in any of his group chats, if you're lucky enough to get into them and someone claims they're me, they're not, because I'm not in any of his group chats. I don't know, but he sure did cry. Well, that's the thing. That sort of thing doesn't affect a lot unless you're going into certain types of jobs. And it was far enough in the past that since he hasn't had any reoffenses of the same thing, a lot of employers, especially if they're desperate for someone to fill a position, would overlook that. He does. I know he does. He can't comment because I let him come on for the chats. Like, the chats are open. He's not blocked. He can come into these chats anytime. But then I purposely put him back on the he's not allowed to post comments thing because I know that just pisses him off. But he does come back and watch these things. He watches any video he can find about himself. And you know that because he will reference things or address things that were in these videos if there's something that like especially upset him. Yeah, because he can't afford pizza anymore. But yeah, he gets mad if we start using like certain words for him. He was real pissed that I was calling him princess for a while. I should start doing that again. But yeah, I mean, sometimes if it's for, really basic labor stuff, as long as your criminal history was stealing from employer, they'll probably take you. Basically, yes. He hasn't said for sure that the offer was rescinded, or hasn't said directly that the offer was rescinded. But it was definitely rescinded because he speaks a particular way that I can understand because it's the same way that idiots I work with speak with when they fuck something up, but they don't want to outright say it. But you sort of read between the lines and figure out from the context as to what the fuck up was, how it happened, and why, and I know exactly why it was rescinded, even though he never directly told me. Because he very indirectly told me he has very specific speech patterns, and one of my many talents is recognizing patterns and figuring them out, which is why for years I did, my sole job at one company was to go through debug logs for a massive database and for pieces of modules that ran with that database to figure out where the bugs were so the developers could find them. I do not know how to code, but I know how to read log files. And the way I can just pick out something that's even mildly different and figure out that's where your bug is. So in this is the time and the second that it happened, when you were compiling it did this happen, your bug is there. And made it easier for them to find them. And that was my entire job for like 4.5 years at one particular company. No, if you can't see Lucas's Instagram, he probably blocked you. As for the YouTube channels, he has 2 of them, and I think he only remembers the password for one. But he also tends to get frequent post bans on YouTube for harassing people in comments. Yeah, not in the car. I still can't believe he fell for that. That is the one thing that I would absolutely love to, like, not even in a mean way. I'd just be like, hey man, I just want to know your thought process for that plane ticket when you saw that lap infant. That's the thing. I just genuinely want to know. Like, I don't want to make fun of him for being dumb enough to do it. I'm not going to laugh at him for having done it. I just want to know what his thought process was when he saw a lap infant registered called It's Not in the Cards Werner, and why he thought it was a good idea to go ahead with it, despite that very obvious joke. He claims he knew it was there, but I just want to know his thought. I mean, his thought process in general, what I wasn't thinking, but I want to know like the exact thought process, like what the fuck went through his head for that. It was just Yeah, I would too, but I don't think he'll talk to me about it. See, that was one thing I'd suggested maybe that the Owls try to see if they could get him back on to do with the thing of that we're not going to talk about Starbucks, we're not going to talk about all your other dumb shit, your board games, whatever. I want to know specifically about this. But I don't think Lucas is going to come on there again because he was real pissed that they let me on. Oh yeah, he didn't care at all. I just want to hear the. I just kind of want to do the thing they used to do on the TCAP episodes where it said, "What were you thinking?" And then the dumbass explains what they were thinking. Like, you know what they were thinking. I just want to hear it. You might see that change soon. Based on the way his glasses made his eyes look when he had them on, I'm guessing he has a pretty moderate astigmatism. Cats are crying now. It's one of the male cats crying though, not the little girl. Yeah, I found out the one big male cat that I have has two voices because he still has remnants of the jowls, so he wasn't neutered until he was an adult. But he has two voices. He has the very high pitched kitten voice, is the one he usually uses with people and with me. He's this the I'm a sweet baby, despite the fact that I'm 15 pounds. And then when he really wants something or wants to get my attention, he puts on his tomcat meow again and scares the hell out of me. Lucas, I think it depends. So Malin Place is going to depend. I don't know how easily people are allowed to leave Malin Place. Like if they have to get a doctor sign off to be able to leave. I mean, he could just walk out and never come back, but then he would be flagged as a missing elder, more or less, and they'd go find him. But I don't know what the protocols are for being able to leave Malin Place. Because it is a place that's not technically a transitional living place. It's a place for people who have like cognitive disabilities, usually relating to like a traumatic brain injury or mental illness. So that would indicate that for him to be able to legally leave and not just get arrested and dragged back in, he would have to have his doctor sign off and say yes, he's good to go. But if it's not a place that requires that, if he can just leave and he's just being smart enough not to do so in winter, I would imagine as soon as it gets warm enough to where it wouldn't be uncomfortable for him to sleep outside at night, he will bolt. Because he will not think ahead to the fact that winter will, in fact, come again. And then when late fall roams around again, he'll panic and start doing his quote-unquote suicide threats to get indoors. That's what I want to know. I just want to know what he was thinking. Like, because he had the panic, what was he thinking, the thing with Mia's dad, but that was, I mean, I want to know what he was thinking before Mia's dad. I also would just love to know what the people working at the Ritz-Carlton that evening thought when Lucas, who admittedly had not showered in several weeks, walked in looking for Mia. I bet they had stories that night. But yeah, I don't think Malin Place is a place he can just leave. I think he has to get like the medical clearance to be able to leave. Which is even funnier because he's going to eventually explode. I mean, he could potentially get kicked out. Like if he starts becoming a disruption or a danger to other residents, he could in theory be sent back to like inpatient or sent somewhere else. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to imagine is working at the Ritz-Carlton and having fucking Lucas, after not showering for several weeks and being stuck on a plane, then in an Uber, wandering in, looking for someone named Mia. Like, even if there was someone named Mia there, I wouldn't tell him there was someone named Mia there if he walked in looking and smelling like that. Yeah, I get the feeling that, I mean, medication calms him down a little bit, but I get the feeling too that after the couple of times the nurses like walked in on him doing those lives and seeing how like worked up he was getting, or got reports of like the loud videos he was making on the grounds, that he was told he needed to not do that. Yeah, I would love to have seen the lobby footage from that. That would have been just honestly amazing. I mean, I get not being able to shower. Couldn't you walk to like a gas station with like a truck stop or go into a bathroom and at least like wash up in a sink somewhere? I mean, gross. Just fucking gross, man. And I mean, you know, when he does wash, he probably doesn't wash properly either. Ugh. It's probably how he smells it. Well, people have said he smells like piss and onions, which is an interesting combination. But yeah, that LA catfish thing is one I would actually like to talk to him about it, and just to ask him what the fuck he was thinking and make him like go into detail. Yeah, I think he thought the I haven't showered in 3 weeks would make someone pity him and like get him an Airbnb or something, but nah, it didn't work that way. Oh god, yeah, that poor Uber driver and whoever had to sit next to him on the plane. It is past puppy's bedtime and mine for a work night on a Sunday. So yeah, we're gonna just wrap it up there. Y'all know about Lucas's stupid party again. Anyway, this virtual Wern site is one where I just kind of threw up all of the versions of his old web pages that I could find. So if you hadn't seen his like cute older daddy fac or any of his Weebly pages, they're all up there, so you can go take a look at them. It's a lot of and I put pictures in where I thought they were appropriate. But yeah, his pages were something else. And then there's the blog post from his mom up there too. Yeah, he thought Mia was going to drive. It's just it was so stupid. It was so stupid. But anyway, I am going to go feed the cats and then go to bed and try not to think about the Octolex or Libertarian Socialism bullshit.